Hey there. So after coming out of my starting my summer break today, I'm officially on vacation for the next 3 weeks, thank God. Yep, I have actually finished my first year of college. And I'll be honest with you, going back at, not the youngest, and going back to college is not the, no, it was the easiest decision, but I think it was the right one for me. And without further ado, I think this video is the right one for me right now. And what it is I'm going to show you some box sets of some TV shows that should have been much more popular than they were, but they kind of got lost in the shuffle. Anyway, number one. Swamp Thing, the series. Swamp Thing, the series was actually pretty damn good, and let's face it, it was much better than the second film. We have a younger actor, Mark Lindsay Chapman, playing Arcane in this. We have Dick Durock again in the Swamp Thing suit, and what a magnificent suit Swamp Thing has. This is a really, really cool show. There's some pretty cheesy stuff, and basically the series lasted longer than I would expect or something like this, but nobody ever knew what it was. Like the series Werewolf, which unfortunately I don't have on DVD, but was another great series starring John J. York and Chuck Connors. I'll talk about it some other time. But Swamp Thing right now is what we're going to. Swamp Thing had balls. I don't know if Swamp Thing himself, but the series did. It starts out with a young boy who kind of like befriends Swamp Thing. And it goes on with some pretty cheesy stuff and some pretty cool episodes. And it doesn't get really too dark at the beginning. But all of a sudden, holy crap. Spoiler alert for Swamp Thing and series back in the 90s. So you know, you should have seen this one. If you haven't, check it out. But this is a spoiler alert for something big that happens in the series. So if you want to skip over like about 30 seconds in the video, that's okay. The boy is taken, his death is faked, and he's sold to human traffickers. The boy is never seen or saved by Swamp Thing or anyone else again. I kid you not. Carrie Worrell would actually come into the series after that, playing I think Abigail. A very cool take on the Swamp Thing character. Doesn't work all the time, but when it does, it works pretty well. Came out around, I'm not sure it came around the same time the Superboy series did or not, but it really enjoyed it, and I think it's something that you would enjoy if you're a fan of the genre, and you like kind of the monster movies, the cheesy movies, the comic book movies. It's just some fun stuff. So we're not inventing the wheel here, but it was a good series, and it doesn't get the props it deserves. Speaking of comic book series, The Flash. John Wesley Shipp was the perfect choice to play the Flash. He looked the character. I mean, he really looked the character. This is probably one of the best representations of a superhero on TV for them. And you got some of the villains in there. The most popular one, of course, being the Trickster, played by Mark Hamill. Now, Mark Hamill, of course, is known for voicing the Joker on Batman the Animated Series, and of course the Arkham Asylum and Arkham City video games. But The Flash was a series that came out on CBS. It had a lot of leftover sets from the original Batman films. It used the score from Batman, pretty much lifted that and just changed it a bit. But it wasn't like overly funny, like a lot of the ones were over the top. It did a darker series. It had a really good pilot. There were some decent villains in it. Tim Thomerson played Captain Cold in this series as well, I'm pretty sure. That's just some really quality, good stuff. I mean, of course there's some cheese stuff. You're back in the early 90s. But I remember most of my college, before we went out, we would sit down and we'd all gather together, or like a crap load of us, and watch The Flash. The Flash and Dark Shadows were two shows that kept us home from drinking during a college age. So, yeah, Flash. And pick it up. That's a complete series. This one is by Ship Factory. and it there's like, I think there's three sets of these. There are two or three sets of these. Yeah, with like 72 century episodes, so that one lasted much longer. Next up is Millennium, Chris Carter's series that just did not know where the hell it was going. We got Lance Henriksen in a creepy ass series about serial killers. A really, really cool show. And the first season of this was pretty freaking dark. I remember an episode, and I'm pretty sure it's in the first season. You can correct me if I'm wrong here. About this killer that would follow up people from funerals and kill people that were coming home from a funeral. Some really good stuff, but apparently Fox or somebody thought it didn't catch on the way it should have, so it was retooled and revamped for the next season. Now this would happen again for its third and final season, when it would be retooled and revamped yet again. The series Millennium was a pretty cool show, and when you look back at Millennium and X-Files right now, some of them may show their age a bit, but Millennium actually shows its age less. It was an underrated series. It's creepy. If you're a horror fan, you're going to get a kick out of Millennium, some of it anyway, and just enjoy it for what it is. At the time, people expected Millennium to be another X-Files, but it wasn't that. And it wasn't supposed to be that. Maybe Lone Gunman was supposed to be closer to that, like a comedic version. But Millennium was a different show, a darker show, and luckily they managed to give it some sort of send-off when it got an episode on X-Files. Not the one that it should have gotten. Millennium should have actually gotten maybe a 2-hour TV movie or something like that. Because Lance Henriksen is the man, and that was a pretty damn good show. It's highly underrated. Next one up is one that you've heard of a lot, and I'm sure you probably saw. And maybe you'd argue with me that it's not an underrated series, but you know what? It is. Night Gallery. Rod Serling's second anthology series. Second big anthology series. Most people remember Rod Serling for Twilight Zone, of course. You saw me with the t-shirt. Everybody loves the Twilight Zone, and I am one of those everybodies. But Night Gallery was a really, really cool series. This is actually an awesome box set, by the way. Del Toro is a huge fan of Night Gallery, and that's probably one of the only reasons these sets got made. By the way, Del Toro was a fan and a pretty powerful guy in Hollywood at the time, and Night Gallery sets came out around then. So yeah. If you want to thank anybody for Night Gallery sets coming out, you can probably thank Del Toro. Night Gallery did a different take on it. Basically, you'd see at least in the first, you see a painting, and the painting would go and be the picture, and in the pilot levels anyway. Now Night Gallery did a little bit differently. There were like skits, sort of, in between some of them. I remember watching one. Probably the first episode of this one here, about the boy who predicted earthquakes. It basically was a boy that could tell the future, and followed by that there'd be like a little short, like almost like comedic skit, and followed by another episode, another twist ending thing, and then another comedic skit. It's hard to explain Night Gallery. Night Gallery was an anthology series. It did a little bit of everything, and these sets are actually pretty good. Season 2 here has audio commentaries by Del Toro, among other things. But now, come on, Del Toro commentaries. You know Del Toro's always going commentary. So, pick up Night Gallery. It's really, really good. I like to see more stuff like that come out. There's so much of that stuff that's not out there. Stuff like The Dark Room and so many different anthology series that I love to see brought out that have not yet made it to a DVD. And I haven't checked this one out in a long time, but I remember a series called Monsters. And I used to find that really good. I had a couple of the episodes on VHS. I have not checked to see if that has ever come out on DVD, and I probably should, because I really like that show, and I'm hoping it has, or if it hasn't, that maybe Shout Factory or Scream Factory can bless us with a Monsters set on Blu-ray. One of my favorite science fiction shows started great and it ended horrible. It lasted 5 seasons, and yet you think with 5 seasons they'd be saying, okay, the show is good, we'll give the props it deserves, but it never really got it. And you that have this will know what this is right now, just about looking at this box set. If you've seen it in the store, you know what this box set is, because it's a very unique looking box set. And this was such a good show when it started. It had such promise. Tracy Torme was writing for the show Star Trek The Next Generation. However, he didn't feel that a lot of his work was getting the credit it deserved, and he didn't feel that the series at the time was going in the direction that he wanted. So he decided to go out and make his own science fiction series. And that became one of my favorite sci-fi shows of all time. Yes, cheesy but it's true, I am a huge fan of Sliders. Sliders is basically stars Jerry O'Connell, who you'll probably know from a lot of different things. If you're a Crossing George fan, you probably know him from there. If you're like Stand By Me, who's the chubby kid in Stand By Me. And if you're an 80s Canadian kid like me, then you probably know him from My Secret Identity, the TV series. Well, the extremely charming Jerry O'Connell works his magic in here with the amazing John Rhys Davies as Arturo, a professor. And basically what it is he opens up, Jerry O'Connell's a genius, and he opens up he opens up a dimensional portal that can bring him to parallel universes. Universes like our own, other Earths, just where different things have happened. And there's slight changes. Elves may have lived, brains may be more important than brawn, so we'll have like the academic Olympics, or it could be just kind of soap opera world. It's just some different stuff. Now, in the later seasons, we would lose the character of John Rhys Davies, we would lose Sabrina Lloyd, we would even eventually lose Jerry O'Connell himself. But one of the things we would gain, unfortunately, was a really crappy-ass alien storyline that didn't fit the series. They tried to give it a mythology all of its own, and I don't think it worked out too well. I think that, yes, the series may have become a little one-note if it would have kept down with some of the style of, well, what type of Earth are we going to go to this time? But you know what? It worked. It was fun. It was interesting. I was never bored watching Sliders when it came on, and especially the original Sliders. When I go back and watch it now, I can actually watch some of those later crappy alien years and actually enjoy them for what they are. Even when Charlie O'Connell, Jerry O'Connell's actual brother, comes into the series as his actual brother for one season, I actually enjoyed it a lot more watching it now than I did back then. And Sliders would definitely on this one here, by the way, the Dual Dimension Edition is the first and second season. Right here, see this box set? This is the best Sliders would get. And with only 3 more box sets, you have the whole thing. But if you only want the best, go get this. It's really incredible. I love the box set. Some people bitched about it, but I thought it was really cool and really well done. And again, it is time for, no, not tea, vanilla latte. Labatissimo. Probably going to get a few videos done here today. And I'm on vacation. Why not? Hopefully you'll have seen or want to see some of the shows that I've mentioned. And if you do, then Shout Factory put out Swamp Thing. You can get it sometimes for fairly cheap. Night Gallery should always be available. It comes out, and this was brought out by Universal. It does have features. The Flash is featureless, but you can pretty much see this at a lot of Walmarts and stuff like that. Nowadays for fairly cheap. When I bought it, trust me, it wasn't that cheap. Millennium, I don't know how much this costs or if it's still in the stores, but my dad gave it to me because he knows I'm a fan of the series. And Sliders, this one cost me a pretty penny when I got it. I lost a set, and then I found another one. So this one here actually cost me $3. Again, it's time for vanilla latte, and hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks a lot, guys.